A barefoot mechanic's hot rod tractor that's never gonna get finished.
One day, sir, one day.
So what is going on down there with Duffy and company? Well, I'm getting ready for some new happenings, and when a few strong young backs arrived hoping to shoot the breeze, I put them to work instead, and we're busy moving things around. The master plan is to get the 39 Hudson back into the fitting rooms, which is over there. But before I bring in the Hudson, I want to blow apart the Rogue Runner, and I need the chain hoist up there to take off the cab. The idea is to take it apart completely and then move all the pieces in there where we are planning to do all sorts of new things. Look, I've had a lot of fun with this car over the years, but it's got some problems now. The engine is tired. We recently seized one of the back axle bearings. There are issues with the diff. Not this diff, the car's diff. Not that I don't have issues. And then there's a whole list of issues that I'd like to rectify. I built this old thing many years ago, and I made mistakes. And now that I'm more experienced, I think I can make it better and have a car that will perform better, handle better. So the plan is essentially to build a new frame, stick in a different motor with more horsepower, different gearbox, change the suspension setup. Yes, in short, I'll just keep the cab and everything else will change. Yeah, speaking English sometimes for me is a challenge. It's not my mother tongue, but we get by. And then all that will happen in between everything else. Yes, Duffy's eyes are always bigger than his tummy. But I would like to get that Hudson in here, start working on it again, and then we'll fiddle on this one when it's pushed in out of the way in there, in between it all. So one of the things that I will definitely change is this friction shock setup. Look, it looks really cool. It's great for a show car, but it's not that effective. I don't know, there's maybe just not enough friction here. But anything faster than about 80 kilometers an hour, 50 miles an hour, it just doesn't work well at all, and you start getting wheel up. And we definitely want to go faster than that. So that will get changed. Here's a really stupid thing I did. Look at this. The sump of the engine sits lower than the frame. Now why I did that, only the devil will know. I was such an idiot back then. And yeah, I've got so little ground clearance here that the sump was continuously catching on things, especially here with my dirt roads. So I ended up welding in this protection bar here to try and alleviate the problem, but it's just too low. So lesson learned, and yeah, years later with more experience, of course I now know that nothing should sit below the bottom of your frame, ever. Duffy is an idiot. And now of course, with the engine mounted so low, the sump of the transmission also sits below the bottom edge of the frame, which is not a good thing either. Another thing that's been continuously bothering me is the fact that I made this frame here from a 50 by 75 2 by 3 inch box section. And every time I drive this car, I can't help but get this picture in my head of the frame bending. So yeah, now that I plan to upgrade on horsepower and engine weight, this will definitely change, and I'll go for a much bigger section, probably a 2 by 4 or something like that with quite a heavy wall thickness. Yeah, we'll see. Enough talking. I've already been disconnecting some wires So let's get this thing apart. Holy cow, look at the state of that coolant. It's an absolute disgrace. Right, so I am ready to take off this cap. Hopefully all the necessary cables and wires and whatnot is disconnected. Yeah, let's find out, eh? I had to go find some wooden blocks to stick in here, but I think it will be good now. Yes, she's rolling and feeling quite stable as well. She's an old man, this one, look, pissing little bits everywhere. I'm going to push this cap in there for now. Yeah, no matter how much space you've got, you're always juggling things. And if you create more space, you just collect more junk. And you keep on juggling. Let's see if we can get it in there. Seems I've hit a snag. Who said it was easy? Now the one wooden block came out. Okay, that should do it. Yeah, talking of easy. Now I can't go any further because the mirror is going to catch against this thing. So I'm just going to take it off. At this stage, that's the easiest thing for me to do. Instead of trying to change my angle of attack through this opening. Just right here. That was the start of my problems here. This caster wheel is not big enough to roll over that. One day when I've got nothing to do, I should really fill this in with some cement. One day when I've got nothing to do. That will be never. Now this whole cab is sitting skew there on my little dolly or whatever you want to call it. All because of that obstacle in the road. So let me see how far I get before the next block falls out. Hey, so far so good. I think we're gonna make it. Yes. Now that's a part of my dusty establishment most of you guys don't know about. I normally build the cars in this area here, the fitting rooms. But the plan is to build that new frame in there over time. So I'm gonna have to clean that space up a little bit. We will be spending more time in there. I guess my next move would be to take out the engine and transmission while I've got this standing here underneath my hoist up there. So yeah, let's do that. Just gotta push this thing a little bit more forward so that it sits under the hoist here. That should do it, I reckon. Yeah. Jeez, I went to a lot of trouble with this thing back in the day. Look at these, shall we call them decorative bolt head caps that I made from copper. They are like a kind of press fit on here. So they should pop right off. Here we go. Now I can undo the engine mounting bolts. Oh, freaking hell. Now, of course that would happen, eh? Forgot about that. Damn. And that's why we always have sawdust around. And that's also why I have such a pristine workshop floor. What a freaking mess. You may laugh as much as you want. And then, just remember, I'm just a simple fabricator, not a freaking mechanic. Hey, but at least they separated. So this TH350 transmission is still good. I'm definitely going to reuse that. As for this inline 6 Chevy here, that's going to go into retirement for now. Drip, drip, drip. Just like some of the keyboard warriors that's been commenting on one of my short videos lately. Let's leave this thing to run out of drips and go over there to criticize that frame that I built so long ago. Like I said before, one of my main concerns is the structural size of this frame rail here. This is only 2x3, 50 by 75. And I seem to recall that I got this from a drawing for a T-bucket frame, not keeping in mind, of course, that T-buckets has got a much shorter wheelbase. And then typically, guys don't play them very hard, do they? Look, it stayed together and in one piece through some pretty hectic driving, even on bad dirt roads. We did some dirt drag racing with it. This was all from a time way before the YouTube channel. And you know, those of you guys that have been with me for a while, you'll know we're not scared to drive the things we build. But look here, maybe you can see it as well. Can you see how that rail is curved? Yeah, bent. You see, that was what I was worried about. So it would seem my concern is a valid one. Another constant issue has been this very awkward steering box mounting bracket. What a contraption. Now it's simply not rigid enough, and when you use the steering wheel it would actually flex. I would be amazed if there's not some stress cracks in the steel there somewhere. Now yeah, this disaster actually kind of came about because of bad planning. If these hairpins, if they would have stopped right there, then all of this could have been avoided and something much better could be done here. All because of that. So you learn, eh? Hey, at least I got this right. Very little bumps here because my steering arm right here is horizontal. On a mate's car, this was sitting at an angle, and I tell you, that thing was very hard to steer. I built all of this from scratch, and yeah, it stayed together. I'm not sure yet if I'll be doing a transverse leaf spring again. We'll see. If I do, there will be some changes, but I'm not going to get into that right now. A quick look here at the lady leg friction shocks from behind, and a quick explanation of how they work. So you can swivel there and here, but in there is a leather pad, and then you tighten this bolt pretty much as you can to provide friction here, and that's what gives it its shock absorbing abilities. Now cars here in the 20s, if I remember correctly, all had friction shocks using leather pads, and it kind of works okay. I think I said earlier, until you get to about 50 miles an hour, 80 kilometers an hour, and then you just start getting a lot of wheel hop. So yeah, it's cool. It's a talking point and all of that. But for a driving car, I don't think I'll be doing this again. I had no issues with my hairpin design. I used a tie rod end here in the back, and that worked out well. I think next time I might just make this pipe size up here one size bigger. I guess more for aesthetic purposes than anything else. Up here, just some thick steel, a hole and a high tensile bolt, and I can't say that it gave me any trouble. The top one here, I made it adjustable so that you could set your caster if you wanted to. Talking of caster, which is the angle between a vertical line and a center line through the kingpin, I've got about 7 degrees. That worked out well, so I'm happy with that. I will go with 7 degrees again. Yeah, and then as far as the back suspension goes, knowing what I know now, I think it's a bit of a dog's breakfast. But it worked. It never really gave me any problems. It's just that now that I've looked at it and I understand suspension geometry a lot better, I think we can improve on that. I'm not going to get into all of that right now. Just a quick rundown. So that bottom link there, that comes from the donor car, including the coil spring. And then I added this top link up there, just on some bushes. Now the location of these pins and their distances apart, stuff like that is not quite what it can be. And then in there it's quite a messy business as well. Let me show you. Just look at all this complex bracketry I dreamt up here to make it all work. Holy cow. Yeah, let's just say I won't be doing that again. On the plus side, nothing ever broke. And everything is still together. Yeah, and the car drove and it worked. Still, I don't know what is going on here. This worked out very well. That's something I would definitely do again. Let me explain. So the coil spring sits inside that cup, and the cup is welded to that big ass piece of threaded rod that goes up through that bracket up there. We've got a nut on the bottom and a nut on the top there. So by adjusting the nuts, you can move your whole chassis up and down and set your ride height exactly as you want. Yeah, and this has worked out very well. Last criticism, I think, of my design decisions from many years ago. That panhard bar right there. Yes, it's not supposed to sit in an angle. It must obviously sit horizontal at ride height. It's a whole geometry thing. We're not going to dive deeply into it right now. If I can give myself a little credit though, I think I did a pretty nice job of securing fuel lines and brake lines and battery cables right here on the inside of the frame rail. So at least there's that. So yes, I think I have criticized myself enough over bad design decisions made back then. You are most welcome to add more. I can handle it. But if I may pat myself on the back, I do think that my fabrication work was pretty good. You be the judge. Okie dokie, let's maneuver this chassis in there while it's still a roller. Okay, so what's next? Let's see. I suppose now I need to get the axles out and strip it right down to bare bones so that we are just left with a frame that can essentially go out of here. Right there you can see the leather pad that was providing the friction. Now I always thought about doubling it up and putting another one on the backside to provide extra friction. But as they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. 4 nuts and then this front suspension is out. jack it up a little bit to get it out, and things might go crashing. Let's find out. Nope, not so far. Seems to be stuck on that pin on the spring. A little bit more. Come on. There we go. Haha. I snookered myself. Reverse. Let's get the jack out first. Right, so if I jack here, I should be able to get that spring out. And now what was once a functioning and driving car is reduced to a box full of bolts, a pile of parts, and a skeleton that will be cut up for scrap steel. Yeah, and so here we are. Something that has taken many months, if not years, to build, blown apart in a day. Or in my case, maybe 2 or 3. I don't have quite the energy of use anymore. Yeah, so now what I need to do next is I need to get some steel so we can build that new frame. And then we've also got to go and fetch the new to me engine and transmission that we plan to use here. Now I promise you, you will not be able to guess what it is. It's nothing that you've seen here. No, it's not a 283, it's not a 327 or a 350 or anything like that. Yes, it does have 8 cylinders, I'll give you that. Now, they do say that all good scripts have a little bit of suspense. Not that there's any scripts happening here. About the only script in this shop is rule number 1 on the wall over there. Some of you guys will know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to have to, have that suspense in place, and I'm not going to tell you right now what it's going to be, but I promise you we'll take you with on a road trip in a not too distant future when me and the barefoot mechanic will go and fetch that engine. So yeah, until that happens, thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you oaks in the next one, eh? Have a lekker one.
Whatever makes you happy, it just depends on you. So think a little bigger and